growing a business is very difficult. In New Zealand, you as the business owner, you're like a one-arm coat hanger. You are doing everything, and it is exhausting. You start with a small, high-performing team. You bring other people in, and they can actually slow down the cadence of progress. But we had about 100 staff around the country.
Hannah McQueen built Enable Me from nothing.
100 staff, 10 offices, 15,000 clients across New Zealand.
Then she sold it and walked away.
The build often is grit, and the scale, that's the tricky thing. That's when you need operational excellence. You need to know your strategy for growth. I remember talking to my husband. I think we might need to get a line of credit on the house, a couple of million just to tie us through. My biggest lessons are get rid of the wrong staff quickly, legally, but quickly. You need to be able to make that call really quickly.
So much money to cover 100 salaries.
Yeah, don't think you're going to drift towards success. You will drift to more hard work. Exit events need planning, and normally good planning needs it.
Who's Hannah McQueen?
Oh. I am just at a scene from Notting Hill. I'm just a girl standing in front of a guy. I am a proud Kiwi, a mum, an entrepreneur, a daughter, a wife.
I like that you did not say what you do as much. You had a little bit of a identity. If you go down to the core of who you are and what really motivates you, pushes you, makes you do what you do, what is it? What's deep down? I know this is kind of delving deep, straight into the deep stuff, but sometimes that happens on the podcast.
I want to create an impact and leave an impact. I feel an obligation to leave things better than I find them. I am fortunate enough to have done comparatively well in business, which isn't necessarily the measure of much beyond doing well in business. But I guess to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
And I think we live in such an amazing country. It's sort of lost its way a smidge. But if I can be part of a voice that brings that back and does some of the heavy lifting to do that, then that would be a day well worked.
Because what do you see in the world that is broken that you want to fix?
Well, for me right now, it's fixing older person healthcare. I think how we support our older people to age in this country is woeful. Unacceptable, one might say. And that's an inherited problem as much as it is a current trend. But I just think we can be better. And there was a time, certainly in my childhood, where we were brought up to believe that we can create great change. We come from a country and a culture that embraces that. And I'd like to demonstrate that for my own children.
I want to get into some of the background stories in terms of your growing up and what your parents did.
Yeah. Okay.
You were talking about how you grew up in Hawke's Bay?
Yep. So I'm from Hawke's Bay, born and bred. Didn't move to Auckland until I attended university. I came from, I guess if we think of the socio-demographic, a middle-class family, two parents that worked. We didn't want for anything, but we didn't have excess. My parents were quite connected into a church, so that was quite a lot of what shaped my upbringing. I did well at school. I mean, I'm a typical girl. I was talking to my son who's coming up 18, and I was saying how good his younger sister was doing at school, high school. And he scoffed and he said, look, high school's designed for girls to do well. I mean, what does it mean anyway? He's quite cynical. And I am the quintessential girl, right? Like I wanted to try, I wanted to please, I knew what I was good at, and I applied myself. That's, as I say to my son, that's really all we want for you. But that led me to leaving school early. I left school at the end of sixth form, kind of much to the chagrin of some teachers who said that was foolish for me to do. But I wanted to go to university. I was impatient kind of with where I was at. And I have this really fortunate trait that when someone tells me I can't or I shouldn't, I will listen. And if I respect them, I certainly will take that on board. But if I actually don't hold their opinion in high regard, it fuels me to do the exact opposite. So that's become helpful, because as you navigate business, you have a lot of people telling you what you should or you shouldn't do, and you've got to work out what's the line you're prepared to go for and whether you back yourself to make that work.
I love that, like, because you had to learn to push a little bit. You wouldn't be as successful as you are today if you hadn't had to push. Yeah,
you're pushing against the pricks all the time. It's hard when you get that all around, because I guess life is made up of business where it can be challenging, and then if you've got a relationship that's challenging, or children that are challenging, or parents who are aging that you're trying to navigate how you support them, if you're getting it from all angles, that's really hard. I've been fortunate that I might have only had it from one or two angles at a time, and you can cope with that usually.
Yeah. So do you what did you hope to accomplish when you stepped into your first job at KPMG, and what were you thinking? Who did you think you could become?
Well, I always thought that I would run a business, or be. The term entrepreneur wasn't really even a thing back then. So I thought that I would lead a business, maybe more in the more traditional sense of a CFO. I knew that a lot of CEOs are CFOs first. So I thought, well, that could be a pathway through to the position I want to have in an organization. I wanted to lead from the front. The CFO requires a chartered accounting degree or qualification and a particular level of experience, which is what KPMG provided. So it was just part of a path that I was on, and I was very comfortable with that path because I could see where it was going to lead me to.
Hello, thanks for watching this video. Quick note, have you subscribed? Over 90% of people who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or on Apple are not subscribed or following. Please do so now. It's so simple. The button will be around the screen somewhere. You either hit subscribe or hit the follow button or leave me a review. It will help me so much, helps me grow as a channel and support my work. So I really appreciate it. Okay, back to the episode. And how did you find your way out of it? How did you end up deciding to start your own disruptive technology in the financial space?
Well, probably,
I feel like it's very disruptive. It's not, I don't know if it's technology, but it's quite disruptive.
Well, a combination of failure, humiliation, and curiosity, probably. So after KPMG, I went into consulting and was really interested in how people were able to grow wealth, and particularly tilting towards the use of leverage, and that tends to favour investment properties. So what everyone who goes to university knows is that they actually don't teach you anything that's practical in the real world. You kind of learn the theory of things, and this was giving me the full immersion, and I really enjoyed that. As part of that, I wanted to understand how the financing of these transactions actually occur, not just sort of the peripheral or the shallow version of it. And so I went and worked at a finance company that it was, in essence, a mortgage brokering company.
Yeah.
I was with a good friend working with her, and together we came up with this idea of maybe instead of helping people get into debt, perhaps we should help them get out of debt. Because what became prevalent to me, I didn't know this before, is that you pay almost 3 times what you borrow back to the bank. So on my $300,000 mortgage, I was going to pay $1 million close to, based on interest rates. And I'm like, how is this even legal, and why aren't we talking about this? Like, it just felt like this injustice, which led to my friend and I having this conversation. We then pitched the idea to our boss, and he said, what a great idea, why don't you write a business plan for us? So we kind of tutted with that and presented it to him, and then the next day he marched us for going into competition, which is so illogical. But one of the things you learn is that you can't rationalize an irrational mind. We weren't going into competition. We wanted to do it with him. We were sharing our cards with him, as it were. In any case, that was, I guess, the first part, which was I'd failed in a course that I thought that I was going. Like this was going to be the next little
turn.
Quiver to my bow, is that the term? Or kind of the next adjunct to what I was building out as an area of specialty that I wanted to kind of own for myself. And then you just get this torpedo through the side that you didn't expect.
What's a torpedo?
You are fired.
Okay.
And
Why were you fired?
Well, he hasn't told me. Well, I was told that because we're going into competition.
Oh, okay.
I would say possibly because he was insecure and a whole lot of other things. I mean, I don't know the true reason, but I was someone who had played by the rules largely and done everything right, and I still got
biffed.
Yeah. And that was quite astounding for me. So that was probably the humiliating part of the process. What I guess accompanied that was, I don't think professionally I had been any lower than that, because it's such a thing, right? When I don't know, this was 20 odd years ago, but you're marched, you've got your box of things, they are escorting you out. Like, it is so dramatic. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm the good girl. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And luckily I was with my friend who also got marched. But it was humiliating. In any case, you have this moment to reflect, and you're kind of like, well, do I sue them? What do I do? And my dad's always sort of taught me that, and both my parents actually, you just got to keep looking forward, like get yourself out of the situation and start moving forward. And so that kind of, after a few days of reflection and conviction, you decide, well, what do I want to do? I could go back to being an accountant. That's what I'm trained as. Or am I on a journey and this is sort of a hiccup to that journey? What I decided to do about a week after that was call the calculus department of the University of Auckland and ask if they could help me work on this formula to structure my mortgage to pay the least amount of interest over the shortest amount of time with the maximum flexibility. And
wow,
that creates basically an interest saving the size of your mortgage. So if I had a $300,000 mortgage, which I did at the time, which demonstrates that it was 20 years ago, that I could save $300,000 by paying my mortgage off faster. But the problem that people don't necessarily clock with that, because that's just math, is life isn't linear. And when you need to make financial progress, and this is the same with business, it's never consistent one month after the other. And it's that volatility that creates the uncertainty and the exhaustion and your inability to actually start to track progress. Business is one thing. On the personal side, it's your behaviors. So I'm an accountant by training. I'm still a shopper, right? Like, I can color code a budget. I'm just not inclined to stick to a budget. So telling me what to do or having this amazing formula to optimize something doesn't help me if my core behaviors need the work.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what Enable Me became. It became a financial coach to improve those behaviors so we could then optimize what we've got to work with.
Can you give us what you've learned through coaching so many people about why do they do what they should do, but they do not do it?
Oh, well, I think if we can crack that nut, we've solved most of life's problems, right? I think that there are lots of reasons why you don't do the things that you should do. I mean, not necessarily about money, but about health, eating, exercise, sleeping.
Well, let's talk about finance, because this is what you had experience with.
So there can be a lot of reasons why people don't do.
What did people share with you?
Well, it can start with your tendencies, and we tend to start there. So if you're a shopper or a saver, you have very different, you're motivated by different things. And the saver is motivated to save little bits. They get energized by their savings account increasing by the increments. A shopper doesn't give two hoots about that, right? Like they're living in a different world. A shopper usually needs more ambitious goals than the small goals. And that's where a shopper can have strategic capability that sometimes a saver doesn't. So it all evens out in the end.
What does that really mean?
It means that
strategic capability.
Well, they think big. So usually if you're a saver, you tend to be risk adverse, whereas a shopper who's more relaxed with their money on a day-to-day basis, they are happy to have bigger financial goals. Their risk tolerance is higher than a saver. So on one hand, and certainly 2 generations ago, if you were a saver, you were going to be fine. Like the conditions that they were saving in, or my grandparents' generation, where it's favourable. If you can live within your means and stick to the plan, you were going to be okay in the end. They could say that. They preached it because it was true.
Yeah.
But the debt to income levels were materially different in that situation. So say for my granddad, I think when he bought his first home, maybe his mortgage was, in today's dollars, let's say he was earning $50,000, the mortgage was $100,000, right? So it was only 2 times his annual income. So he was able to get mortgage free really fast simply because those numbers work differently than my parents' generation where it was 1 to 4 and my kids' generation where it's 1 to 8. So I think one of the reasons why Enable Me did particularly well is you can't give people platitudes when they are navigating completely different circumstances.
Yeah.
So to say to my son, I could say to him, you know, if you spend less than you earn, you're going to be okay. I could say it, but it's just not true. You have to accompany that with, well, what's your wealth strategy? Like, what are you doing? Because drifting towards or drifting through life won't now necessitate financial success. So we have to come at it from a different perspective.
And that was purely because you wanted to...
Well, that was because I was a shopper and I thought, well, I'm smart, but I'm still a shopper. I refuse to believe that just because I'm a shopper, I can't achieve financial success. And so that's what Enable Me was designed for. How do you meet people where they are based on their tendencies and work out what do we need to play to and what do we need to mitigate against?
Could you give us an idea for someone who doesn't know Enable Me, this scale of how big it is, the dollar value to how big it got, the revenue that you guys got, how many people that you attracted?
Yes, well, I'll try. I sold it 3 years ago, but we had about 100 staff. We had 10 offices around the country. I think
users?
we were.
How many users?
I think we'd worked with 15,000, perhaps. I think the revenue we were tracking, aiming for 20 mil, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did you reach the 20 mil or that's the aspiration?
I think that we were on track to when we exited. So
okay.
And then that gets built into different things.
Yeah. And of course, do you describe to me what the exit was like?
The exit was harrowing.
Really?
It was hard, yeah.
Why?
Because you're not involved in the future of the company and your job is to hit profit targets that underpinned what was paid, which is appropriate. But you're contained, you're constrained. And I'm an entrepreneur and it was sort of like caging a mockingbird. Is that what they are? Whatever the bird that sings.
So did you exit it and you remained in the business?
Yes, I remained in the business for 2 years as part of so that's typical when you exit a business.
Oh, okay.
So there's different stages to the exit and I can't speak to everyone's, but where that was, we were probably in between the initial conversation and the courtship and signing a sale and purchase agreement. That was probably a 6-month period.
Wow.
And we hadn't even intended to sell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was quite out of the blue, but we had 3 people approach us at the same time. It was bizarre. Yeah.
How do you organize that? You can't organize that. Like you can't. Is it a sign for you that it was time for you to sell?
Well, I took it as a sign. I had been, you know how different things anchor your perspective or influence you maybe more than they should, but
What made you actually say yes?
Well, a year prior, I had gone to a panel, a workshop, and there was some pretty successful but quiet entrepreneurs and who had multiple exits. And I remember one guy who was particularly impressive said, someone asked, when do you sell your business? And he said, you sell it when someone wants to buy it. And it was just a throwaway comment. You know, I was on the panel with him. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, kind of makes sense. But then I reflected on that, didn't do anything with it. And then when someone approached me out of the blue, and within 2 weeks, 3 people had approached to make some noise.
Wow. Quick one. If you're an established business owner who already knows podcast guesting is one of the smartest moves for your business, you want to be on podcasts, but you're too busy. You don't know what to pitch, how to pitch, what to say once you're on the microphone, and you just need some help. I made something for you. It's called 3 Free Podcasts. I will personally send you 3 shows your ideal clients are already listening to, plus exactly how to land a guest spot on each one. Simply go to pwrfully.com/Mina, enter your details, a few questions about yourself, and then you will get the email. That is pwrfully.com/Mina. All right, you guys, I've just finished my 10 weeks of the Academy X's Disruptive Technology course, and honestly, I'm leaving with more questions than I started with. We talked about brain chips, big data, and what really stuck with me was the human side. Like, how do we connect and how do we stay ethical in a world that is moving so fast? So if you've been feeling a little bit lost in the noise like I was, this course was a little bit of a forceful pause, if you may, that changes how you see the future. I learned so much, and over 10 weeks, I have to say that I'm a bit of a different person from when I first started. But if you want to do the same, if you want to be in that same sort of space and understanding, join the July intake. There's a link in the description, and I'm sure that you're not going to be disappointed. I'm really happy that I took the course, and I thank Academy X for sorting it out and organizing it for me. So, all ups. Okay, back to the episode. Hello, thanks for watching this video. Quick note, have you subscribed? Over 90% of people who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or on Apple are not subscribed or following. Please do so now. It's so simple. The button will be around the screen somewhere. You either hit subscribe or hit the follow button or leave me a review. It will help me so much, helps me grow as a channel and support my work. So I really appreciate it. Okay. Back to the episode. It's fascinating. So the people who are listening to this podcast are business owners who are aspiring to be the million plus, but also the million
plus profit.
Yeah, a million plus profit or revenue. I think they're very different things. But we'll just say revenue for now, and might have some staff. So they would be going through some challenges right now. Like, let's say someone like a company who's making 2 million. With 3 staff, and they want to ask Hannah, what have you learned about the business that you have killed to know at 27 when you first started?
Well, I think growing a business is very difficult. In New Zealand, it's very easy to start a business. And the romance of doing that seems to be pretty high. You're your own boss, blah, blah. You can earn as much as you want, work as little as you want. All of that, in my experience, is just pith. You work harder than you have ever worked before, which is okay and exhilarating, but you've got to want it.
Yeah.
You've got to be passionate about what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
That's really got to align, and just for me.
Yeah.
If you are starting at a standing start, so you're not a trustafarian, you don't have money to throw at the situation, you've got yourself and you've got grit and maybe a couple of months of runway before the money runs out. That's where a lot of people start. The impact of that is you as the business owner, you're like a one-arm coat hanger. You are doing everything, and it is exhausting, and it I don't know if bothers is the right word, but it frustrates me when I see people on social media showcasing the glory of being self-employed, and it just isn't my reality. It's hard, and I loved it. I was fortunate to have a really supportive family around me, and because when you kind of think about life, if you're indexing more in one direction, someone's got to pick up the slack somewhere else. And for people who don't have that supportive family, I don't even know how you do it. So that's a kind of a shout out to the family that are supporting you, whether it's your partner, your kids, or your parents, friends. That gets tired after a while though. And often what I saw from people that I was coaching at Enable Me who were also self-employed is a lot of self-employed businesses start with a couple. I do not know how you work with your partner, but they do, and they do it successfully. Yeah. Or if not a couple, one is really leaning in to support the person who's in business, which is wonderful. The issue is when it gets a little bit gnarly, a little bit rocky, and this person, the partner, is getting nervous that you can't put food on the table because you've got everything tied up in the business, and you're in the business, and you're trying to kind of hold it all together for the business, borrowing from your personal accounts to try and keep it all afloat. The partner over here is starting to get a little bit anxious about that, and that anxiety, if expressed, is often interpreted as you don't believe in me. And that becomes really dangerous. At the very time, if your business is under pressure, you need to be making really clear calls, and you've got this thing in your ear that you've interpreted as not having faith in you, which can really undermine your own confidence. Those are the things that you need to try and separate out if you're going to have a shot at growing a business, because it's tricky. Because it's just tricky generally. You're dealing with consumers who can be painful, and then you're dealing with staff who most always are painful. And then you've got kind of world pressures as well. And so you've got to be able to commit to the plan and go for it.
If you had to do it again, would you do it the same way?
Well, I would bring in some people much earlier, but the reality is I couldn't afford to have them early on. Yeah. So when I exited, I did have a kind of a strategic officer who was helping me navigate and kind of choose the different lines that we're going to work through, decisions we were going to make, and often those had financial and emotional ramifications. So that was a lot easier to work with someone on that was completely objective and removed from the pressure of the preceding 15 years. Yeah. But if you're growing your business, it's tricky because you're either you kind of have limited options if you're short on cash flow. If you've got lots of cash flow, you can just acquire businesses and slot them in. And a lot of people, actually I was talking to someone today who was saying that they grew their business by 100% in 10 years or something like that. That's really amazing. Did you buy businesses to do that, or was that done organically? With Enable Me, we did it organically. It's not better. It's just a whole lot harder. And I had to do it organically because I didn't have the capital to invest. And that meant that I was having to work really long hours, and because you're trying to, every dollar you get, you're trying to reinvest back into the business. And you take the hit on the chin for you personally, and also, I guess, financially, and maybe even from a health perspective, which I was fortunate not to experience, but I have seen a lot of people in businesses who have burnt out because the pressure is intense. I think one of my strengths is because I'm so comfortable with the financial side of things and the cash flow and the different KPIs and things that we should be tracking, and I can view that without emotion. That does allow you to make decisions faster because you understand it and you know the significance of it. I have often thought people who are in business without, or the observation, those who don't come from a finance background feel very nervous in that space. Sometimes not even, they don't need to. They know more than they think, but there's almost this insecurity around that, which is interesting to observe. like if I just round that out, so if you're growing a business, you can do it organically, you can do it through acquisition, but you need the capital to do that, or the ability to merge, which might not be a swap of capital, but certainly has other challenges. One of the ways, or you borrow to invest in the business, because business needs growth. If you're going from 1 to 3 people to 10, and we got up to 100, you need capital to just keep the lights on, and that's kind of stressful. We didn't have the capital when we were starting, so one of the options, and we didn't have debt, because even though you can raise debt, there's an assumption that you've got an asset that the bank will lend against, because they don't really lend against business. You know, if any government was wanting to make it easier for people in business, they could incentivize the banks to support people who are in business. At the moment, you normally can only get access to funding kind of routinely if you've got a property to secure it against, which has nothing to do with the business. So I didn't want to secure that against our own property. So one of the options that we considered was whether we could license the model to try and grow and to get the expansion faster.
So how did you get, I know this is a question maybe for a bit more of like newbies, but how did you get your first clients for Enable Me?
I think there was an article on me that was written and that created some
buzz.
Interest. Yeah. Or no, maybe I was on a TV show. There was something to do with media. Like it wasn't directly... It was an external personality that that people remembered, and then there was maybe a follow-up article, and then from there it's every lead is God-given, and you better not let that fall to the ground. And so it's a case of obviously making sure they have an amazing customer journey, and when you don't have the systems or the scale, a good customer journey means that it's hands-on and it's really expensive. It's a lot of labor goes into supporting those customers. It's not efficient at all, but you're doing it because you want them to talk to their friends, and you don't need to have the systems, but you've got to have the capacity to backfill where the system isn't supporting you.
And especially in this world of AI, you can automate some stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, but that wasn't a thing then. Yeah. AI. What's AI?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was around, but it was different. So what was the most expensive lesson that Enable Me cost you to learn?
Recruiting the wrong people was an expensive lesson. There were some product lines that we ran with that we should have shut down earlier, and you're mixing your hope and your belief with the cash churn, the impact on the rest of the organisation. I think often you bring in or you incorporate inefficiencies because when you don't have much, when you're just starting, you can't afford to get it wrong, right? Like you just have to be game on all the time, and that's fine. And you're trained for that, and people have that in them. From a financial perspective, it always impressed and surprised me how much people were willing to sacrifice in the name of something. They just needed to know how long the runway was and what the actual sacrifice was. But there was a willingness to lean in on that, certainly for the advancement of someone's personal finances and their business. So that was pleasing. But as you get bigger, inefficiencies creep in. And the inefficiency for me is that you start with a small, high-performing team. You bring other people in and they can actually slow down the cadence of progress. So that's one thing, that you tolerate their underperformance, or you use the overperformance or high performance of someone else to mop up the underperformance of another. And there can be reasons why you do that, but that's really damaging. And it wasn't until I brought in this external strategic officer to help me with that we got really clear on it. Because I don't know if it's my tendency, the fact that I'm a female, the fact that I observe, very sensitive to how hard people are working, you do tolerate things in the name of keeping the peace, in the name of, well, they're having a bad week, I don't want to make it worse, all these things. But the underlying from a business is you've got to think of the business as a separate entity, and you not being able to make the call fast enough with the underperformer is putting pressure on everyone else. And that's something I guess that I had to grow into, the understanding of that. So my biggest lessons are get rid of the wrong staff quickly, legally, but quickly. And some product lines aren't meant to, the timing isn't now, and you need to be able to make that call really quickly.
Is there a filter that you go through when you're deciding on product lines or services that is not serving your business? Like, it has to do this, and is it doing that? Is it doing that? Okay, no, next, like, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, well, there normally is a stated objective, but there can be indirect things that are created from it as well that could be positive. So it might be weaker on what you were going for, but hey, it's actually allowed this, which unlocks that, and therefore we can do this. So I think it's getting really clear and agile in how you assess its success. Yeah. But the ultimate measure is cash flow, right? Like the cash runs out. And if you're choosing to invest your cash on something that isn't performing as fast as it should, there needs to be a feedback loop to allow you to take an off-ramp. And often in small businesses, you don't have that feedback loop. You've just got that this has got to work. Yeah. And I can't overstress having an independent sounding board is really helpful to navigate those hard and sometimes polarizing decisions.
Yeah. Because you hired the business leadership coach. Is this the same coach that you were talking about, the strategic coach in 2020?
Yeah.
The pandemic? Is that the same person?
Yeah. So yes, he came out. He was actually a client first. So that was interesting, and an accountant. So we already had that love language that we could just geek out on numbers and things. But yeah,
But he said that you had lost time to be intentional.
What was that? Sorry,
he said that you have mentioned that helped you see that you've lost the ability to think and be intentional and. Yeah,
I don't think I was, ironically, right at the start when I was choosing my career path, I thought I'd be the CEO. In the seat of the CEO, I guess there are skill sets that sit underneath that. My skill set is I'm visionary and I'm entrepreneurial. That's something that I can do better than most people. It comes naturally to me. And some of the other components of CEO work, which is perhaps making operational decisions, I can make, I'm just not excited by. Yeah. And so when I brought in this strategic officer, he was able to take over some of those operational inefficiencies, which freed me up to really get clear on, okay, where are we taking this business? And for me, it was a game changer. And it was so energizing because at some point you get exhausted in business, and I didn't think I was exhausted until this breath of fresh air came in, and it was...
What did he exactly do to help you out?
He didn't have relationships with the existing team. So he came in objectively and was able to say, this person isn't performing. This isn't working. Just to constructively go through every element of the business. And it wasn't that I was denying it. It was more a case of, well, I'll get to it when I can get to it. But at the moment, I'm fighting a fire over here, and that's just annoying. And I think that is the challenge with the business owner. It's not that you're not aware of the fact that you can improve things. It's what do you focus on now? What's the best use of your time? What is urgent? What's important? When everything is urgent and important. Yeah, exactly. And it always comes back to cash flow, right? Yeah. Like for me, it's always cash flow. So I always needed to make sure that there was enough money coming in to cover the 100 salaries because I didn't want to take on debt.
So much money to cover 100 salaries.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yes, it is. but it's an amazing team. They're making money, but your margin of error is not as big as some people. So to have someone who could call things and then not only identify the problem, because that's one thing, but to then help you correct the problem, I mean, that's the magic dust, and that's what he was able to do.
Before he came in and helped you with the operational stuff, the fact that you didn't like it, but how did you make operational decisions?
Well, I guess I had built it from nothing. So I was the one who had built it. I knew the system better than anyone. I'd designed the software. Because I had walked that journey for so long, and instinctively you're trying to do it the smartest way. So I think operationally our systems were pretty awesome compared to most businesses I've seen. But that doesn't necessarily mean sometimes the gap between being really good at something but being incredible, it's the last 20%, sometimes even 10%. Well, that's where the huge profit sits. And you're not even getting to that because you're making enough money for everything to work, and you've got your fingers on everything, you're holding it together, but you're working hard for it. And you work hard because you can't quite get to the level where you can start to leverage from it. And that's what this person allowed me to do.
It's the 20% leverage.
Yeah, and leverage should be able to do a whole lot more than that, but it certainly can get you to the next level.
It's like the 20% leverage that gets you 80%.
The 80-20,
yeah. So, clearly for founders running businesses who are making like 1 to 10 million, what is the question that they should be asking themselves?
Well, I think we've got to ask, what do you want from this business? And for many people, they want to exit at some point. They're in business and they want to exit, and they want an event, a financial event, a liquidity event, and by jingos, they deserve that event. So if that is what you want, let's just call that for what it is, because it's a whole lot easier when we know what we're working towards. And then let's work backwards. How long do you have in you to keep fighting this fight and putting out these fires? And once you know that's your runway to get there, then you need someone to come in and say, well, this is what the next thing is, and what do you want to exit for? And then let's get someone to determine where are you now and what's needed to grow that, to close that gap. Because if you're going to put effort in, you want it to be in the pursuit of a goal that's grounded you.
Hello, thanks for watching this video. Quick note, have you subscribed? Over 90% of people who are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or on Apple are not subscribed or following. Please do so now. It's so simple. The button will be around the screen somewhere. You either hit subscribe or hit the follow button or leave me a review. That will help me so much, helps me grow as a channel and support my work. So I really appreciate it. Okay, back to the episode. So what's the difference between someone who can build a business and someone who can scale one?
Time, energy, usually capital.
But someone, we're talking about someone. So it's the quality of somebody. What's the difference between someone who can build, but then someone who can actually scale it? Not what they need.
And that you're saying the same person is doing each, or that? So
there are people out there who can build a business, and there are people, but they probably suck at scaling it. But there are some people who are good at scaling something, but actually can't build it. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. But what's the difference between someone who can build, and then someone who can actually scale that? What's the knowledge, skill, quality gap?
The build often is grit. You've just got to be able to get on and do it. And the scale, that's the tricky thing. That's when you need operational excellence. You need to know your strategy for growth, and need to be able to execute on that strategy. And that's in my mind more a boardroom conversation rather than a around the golf course conversation, and maybe that's the difference, that there's a mindset shift. If you're going to scale, you're locked in and the stakes are high, and you probably don't even have time for the game of golf. If you are kind of bumbling along and it works enough for you, well, then you're not at the same level. But scale takes careful planning, agility, the ability to remain calm when there's complete chaos around you. And I think sometimes you can just build a business almost just by having a business. It can be, because what's a business? It could just be you being self-employed or one or two people. It's quite small. When you're talking scale, that's another level.
Because you got A&P on board, right? And what how did you know that they were the right people?
Well, there seemed to be a values alignment, which was important. There were particular outcomes that I wanted for my customers. So I'd always prided ourselves on independent advice, not being aligned to a particular financial product, which they supported, whereas a lot of financial advice providers are connected to a product, which I'm like, well, that just
and
seems...
so the distinction is you guys are quite separate?
Yeah, so a separate entity. And so what I liked is there was a pathway for them to take it into Australia, and I wanted Enable Me to help more people. So they gave that pathway.
And so where is it right now? Where is Enable Me now?
I don't know too much about it now.
Funny.
Yeah. My hands are full with something else.
Something completely different,
and I left it with good people still in the team, and I hope that they do well.
Yeah. Let's get into the moments that have been very difficult. I'm sure there have been many.
Yeah. As
you have done business, what has been the hardest moment when you were in business with Enable Me?
Well, I think that the first few years were particularly hard because you're growing, and every dollar you get, you're trying to build enough dollars so you can hire someone, right? And so that's just ugly. And
to hire someone and not pay yourself.
And still not pay yourself, which I was cool to not pay myself. I was happy to do that, but I really needed someone to allow us to grow, because you need more people when it's advisory to be working with you.
Yeah.
So that took a bit of time to get to that point, maybe a couple of months. And I found out that I was pregnant. And then pregnancy is such a butt cheek. It's so hard.
Is it?
Well, I was sick all the time, so that was painful. And then I think I was maybe in another TV show as a financial advisor, and then there was an article that was written in the Dominion, which made just exploded in Wellington the desire for Enable Me, which was amazing, right? These are all blessings, but when you've got your baby on your hip, you're not paying yourself. You're working every hour under the sun. You're taking your baby to work with you. And I guess it was a luxury that I could do that. And then you're traveling to Wellington every week, but you're so poor that you're flying, you can't afford in New Zealand, and and you can't afford a taxi at the other end. So you're catching a bus with the baby and the pushchair, and you're not paying yourself. and so it's hard, but I was able to bring on some pretty amazing people at that point, because with that explosion, obviously there's more resource, so you can recruit. That was a great time. And I guess the thing that always motivated me, the clients that I worked with were just incredible. They were just, I became, not that the idea is to become friends, but in some instances you just became really close with these people as they shared their lives behind the curtain. And what happens to people behind the curtain from a financial perspective is often very different than what they project to the world. So it was always an honor that I took seriously if they were open to sharing that. And you kind of have to be open to sharing that if you're going to be working with us.
Yeah.
So that kept me energized. And thankfully my son slept through the night, because I don't know how people do it when they don't.
How did you balance having a business and being a mother and being a wife?
I don't think I did balance it particularly well. I think that, well, there's sort of other components to that. There's your health as well. So you've got,
Of course.
and maybe your spiritual relationships, like all those things that make up life. I don't think there was a week that I had everything in line as I wanted them to be.
What does it mean to have everything aligned for you?
Well, I listened to a speech this week and I will borrow from it.
Please do. Inspire us.
Well, I need a guitar. The guy had a guitar when he was giving the speech, and it was a commencement speech to some graduates and he was a singer, and he said, when your life is in alignment, it's like you play a chord on the guitar and it's in tune. And it's just this beautiful sound that it resonates. And at a soul level, you know that it's in tune. And similarly, you know if something's slightly out of tune. And I think one of the things that working parents need to be okay with is there are times when it's slightly out of tune, and you just got to hope it's only one thing out of tune, one string, not all 6 strings.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to balance that and to be able to take space away from the noise around us just to hear what is the string that is out of tune. Is it my relationship? Is it my health? Is it the business? Like, what is it? And to try and rebalance. But it's a pendulum, and I would not say that I have mastered it, but I am getting better at it.
Have you ever felt that you were crying over your business?
Crying?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I cried over my business. I'm not really a crier. Crying usually means, for me, that there's, I guess it's the end of something. And so there's sadness, but it's never the end. There's always a comeback. That's what I say to my kids. The comeback is always better than the setback, right? So if there's certainly a point of time where you're like, holy heck, how did I let it get to this? But that's when there's no room for tears. You've got to think really clearly and how you're going to bring that back. And that's the exhilaration of business. That's not something you cry about. Yeah. And in fact, I think some of my best decisions are when my back is well and truly up against the wall.
Yeah.
And you got to come out swinging.
And then you bounced.
Yeah.
What's your secret to bouncing back?
Well, I just have this self-belief that, well, I feel that I'm quite brutal with myself, and I try to be really honest in my assessment of things. I try not to have bias in the business sense. And I do think one of the hardest things is when you know things are bad and you really need to work out how bad they are to then work out what's going to be the most effective way to navigate this. And it's sort of like, if you know you want to lose weight, they would say, well, the first thing you've got to do is go on the scales. So there's an acknowledgement that, yeah, maybe you do need to lose weight, but then the next step of hopping on the scales is always quite confronting, and it's part of then determining what's the most effective plan forward. From a business perspective, you can have an inkling, and most of the time you have an inkling of where you can improve things. If you're not prepared to hop on the scales for that, get someone else to do it, but someone needs to. But back to me, how do I bounce back? Well, normally when I look at a situation, I think, well, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen here? And then I make peace with the worst, and then we go from there.
Because you said you were brutal with yourself. Yeah, what does that mean?
It means that if I don't think I can do something, I'll try and assess something fairly and then determine, do I have it in me to do it? And if I don't, I'm okay with that. I also balance that with a lot of judgment, because I think, well, if that idiot can do it, then surely I can do it as well. But I'm okay if I can't do things. It doesn't bother me. I know there are a lot of things that I can do, and if I can work out the things I can't and bring the right person in, well, that feels a whole lot easier than just pretending.
Because you must have had to give up some stuff. What did you give up back then for Enable Me that you're not able to give up anymore? Or give up again? especially in your new venture?
Well, I think the difference probably is that I'm older, so my body can't do the same things that I used to be able to do. Like, even though I was young and had kids, you still had a lot of energy there. When you're middle age, oh my gosh, I don't know where it goes. So I could quite happily work till 1 or 2 in the morning. In fact, I do a lot of my work when the kids were in bed.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, finally, I can just think clearly. And I could think really clearly up to that point. Now I can probably only think clearly up to about 11 o'clock at night, and even then I don't know the quality of the emails that are getting sent, right? So there's an awareness that you have to do things differently. I just feel that I'm more in balance now with friends and family and some of those other strings on the guitar, not just the business and the money side. And
you had your mum work with you.
Mm-hmm.
What does she know about you that the rest of the world doesn't know? Or could never guess?
God. I think people don't recognise how strong my conviction can be on things. They underestimate that. The thing that she would say is that it surprises me how calm I can be when there's a lot of pressure on me. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's I think that frustrates some people who want to catastrophize things.
Have you come up to the point where you could have lost the business or lost something?
COVID, I thought we could have, just because it was unknown what was going to happen, and there's so much hype and noise, and I was very mindful of my team. So there was 100 mouths to feed, who had 100 families attached to those mouths who I had met and I really, really liked. So you do carry this responsibility. And I remember talking to my husband, I think we might need to get a line of credit on the house, I don't know, a couple of million just to tie us through in case we need it. And he was very supportive of that. But that was the time where I thought, oh, God, we've come this far and this is where we're at. And as it turned out, it was brilliant for Enable Me. But at the start of COVID, I didn't know that. And at the end of it, although it was brilliant, I was so tired. I'm like, catch you later. I don't get paid enough for the level of exhaustion that I'm experiencing.
I see. Yeah. And what you were thinking, what do you think when you probably have had moments where you're like, I'm losing something. I'm losing my health. I'm losing my family, maybe a good relationship because of the business. Or maybe I'm losing income because of the business.
I think for the first 7 years...
You want to protect it, right?
Yeah, well, you've got to be honest with yourself, and there are trade-offs with everything. So I feel that I am pretty good at assessing those trade-offs. To start with, I didn't anticipate working as hard as what I did. I didn't anticipate taking Cam down to Wellington with me and all of that. That was hard. And I remember saying to my mum, and my mum's Australian, just for context, so that basically means she's brutal on some things, and I was complaining about, this is gritty. I'm not really enjoying how intense this is. It was just one thing after another, and I was always proud of how I could hold it together, but you could feel the things stacking. And my mum always just gives, well, not always, but in this particular instance, how some people give the most stupid analogy in a way of trying to meet you where you are.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, whenever it gets hard, I think of those, in those countries where they have a baby on one arm and a rice bucket on their head and they're trudging to the well or something like that. And I'm like, I don't care about those people. I'm really just focusing on me. So Mum really missed the cue there. But it is easier if you think there are always people a whole lot worse off than you. Yeah.
Of course. But when you're in it, you can't think of anything else.
No, where's the gratitude? There is none. Yeah, I get it.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the way that you do media, which has been very, and inspiring. I feel like you've got an NZ Herald slot, TV, radio, speaking. You're on Celebrity Speakers. I think this is how I found you. This is cool. Like, is this like a strategy, or does it always just happen to you that you end up being in the right place at the right time?
Well, I like to think I'm good at communicating.
Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah.
So I've always just tried to be relevant and have the hard conversations. And I think a lot of information, initially it started with finance and now it's moving into older person healthcare for me. But a lot of that, the information that you would see that would be served up to the consumer, I just thought was pathetic. It didn't reflect what I was experiencing. It wasn't to the level of thoughtfulness that I would want to see. And so I've always felt that I've had a voice. I'm happy to use it. And if I can represent the average person with that voice, then that's who I want to try and represent, because they don't have the right voice. So for money, for example, people would say, spend less than you earn and you'll be okay, as an example. And I'm like, yeah, but nah, like that actually isn't helpful. And I think it's quite reckless to say that to our kids. So that would be one thing that I'd be quite opinionated on. And there will be a whole lot of things that, or you just spend less than you earn. It's like, yeah, well, I get it, but who's going to help me do that? Because I'm not interested in doing that.
Don't go above your means.
Yeah, like there's just all these sayings, and it's not that they're untrue, but how do you actually help someone do that? And I felt that a lot of the advice was pithy.
Yeah. But do you just get up to how do you reach out to these people? How have you reached out to like the media and stuff and talk to them? How do they come up, these opportunities?
Well, they've come to me, but I guess, I don't know, I was working with them for 15 years when I was with Enable Me. So I was always ready to give them exactly what they needed, which they wanted a conversation. They probably wanted it for clicks. I wanted it for outcomes, but we're still, I was always ready to respond to them quickly if they requested anything. And I think that laid a foundation that I've been able to capitalize on as I move into Age Brightly.
Because by now you've got a public profile. And
I guess, yeah.
If a founder who's done 2-3 million and they want to start having that public profile and they come to you for advice, what would that be?
Probably for how they establish a brand or a profile.
Just to build their public profile.
Well, you've got to create content and put your name behind it. People have got to know what you stand for and how that measures up, and you'd probably recognise that there are different ways that you can create that content and publish it. Sometimes it's being a guest on a podcast. Sometimes it might be having your own podcast. Sometimes it's writing an article on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's about writing something that you then get your friends to like so it circulates. I mean, I remember when, because I launched my podcast a couple of months ago, and I called my mum and I'm like, hey, it's really important that you listen to this because apparently it's good for some algorithm. And she's like, do I have to? So you think you've got your support where you need the support, but they're not always there when you need them. And that's life probably right there.
My mum listened to my podcast episodes and sometimes leaves them out, like playing while she sleeps, just so that we can have the plays.
Yes. I had a funny one the other day. Mum said, I read this amazing article in the Herald and you really need to read it. They were talking about, I don't know what it was, dementia or something like that. And I said, Mum, did you finish the article? And she's like, no, I only got 3/4 of the way through. And I said, well, if you finished it, you will know that I was the one who wrote the article. But it's for my mum that I'm doing some of these things, right? Like I'm the daughter of aging parents and there are things that I want them to know. And as the daughter, I need to know because if they don't do what they need to do, it becomes my problem.
How is your podcast going?
Well, strangely, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I don't understand the algorithm. I'm sure it was a teenager who came up with the algorithm because it's completely illogical.
Wow.
In my mind. But one of our episodes, our last couple of episodes were like 300,000 listeners or downloads or whatever you call it, whatever the term is. So I was like, well, that feels pretty good.
That's great.
And that doesn't include my mum, who hasn't listened to the silly thing yet. But we're having relevant conversations, often hard conversations. And
Because why did you start it?
because I wanted to lift the conversation around how people age and enter retirement, and I wanted them to get quality information. I feel that the older New Zealander is underserved in pretty much everything, including the messages and the voices that are representing them. So I wanted to cut through that and be their person.
The effort that it takes to do a podcast is quite a lot.
Mammoth. Yeah. The things they don't tell you, just like going into business. Yeah, tricky.
How has the role of a podcast for a founder who's like you, how has it impacted your own work? I know it's quite fairly new, and it's called Age Brightly, if anyone wants to check it out.
That's the business.
Sorry, that's the business, but what's the name?
The podcast is The Next Bit.
The Next Bit, that's right. How much has it helped you so far in terms of, people talk about why would I want to start a podcast? ROI or awareness or visibility? Or
it's the brand awareness and it's the visibility. That's so important when you're launching a new brand. Like, you can't underplay that. I think as you get further on with business, brand awareness, not everyone has the luxury of investing in that. They need to be investing in what's going to create leads and business.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. It's really nice to know, because nice to see a fellow podcaster. And
I'm just a baby, so I don't feel like I can even have that title.
And you're already on my list of podcasts in New Zealand. I'm making a list of podcasts in New Zealand because there's nothing like that out there.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm collating the information. So you're now on my list.
Oh, great.
Let's maybe have a little close with financial well-being. If someone is listening going, I want to get some sort of inspiration about my wealth, and as a business owner and someone who's working hard and want to protect what I do, protect my business, and just have a real inspirational, ending to how do you, keep your wealth, keep your health, and continue to innovate and do really well.
There's a bit to unpack there. I think this is your life to design, and don't think you're going to drift towards success. You will drift to more hard work. Exit events need planning, and normally good planning needs an independent sounding board, someone who's going to come in and assess things for where they're at. And it doesn't even matter where they're at. It's just get your baseline, and then let's work out what needs to be done to get you to where you need to be. When it comes to your personal wealth, because that's to do with, I guess, business, when it comes to your personal wealth, where do you and your family want to be in 5 years? And most of us, or the people that I worked with, wanted to be further ahead than what they're on track to do. It's not that any of them were really going backwards. It's just they were working hard, and the return for that work was pretty average. So you're going to have to stack all the things, and that means you're maximizing leverage, you're maximizing your cash flow, you've got a financial plan, you know what your strategy is, what does success look like? And for the shopper, the little wins don't float your boat. So what is it that excites you? Is it getting mortgage free in 5 years? Is it being able to help your kids into an investment property? Is it being able to help your parents into their home as they retire? Like, success means different things for different people, but unfortunately a lot of those things require money. So we've got to work out, how do we make sure we're going to have enough money? And that's before you even overlay the investment strategy for the money you've got left over and how that starts to work harder for you. There's a bit to it, but the first thing you should do is speak to a financial advisor for your personal finances and for your business improvement. Have that, go for a walk or on the weekend and think honestly, if you are wanting to position your business for sale at some point, because most Kiwis, what happens is they decide on the weekend they want to sell their business, and then they put it on the market on Monday. And it's like, we kind of needed about 2 or 3 years to get there. So if you think you want to exit at some point, best you start planning for that now, and you will make different choices when you've got a different objective in mind.
That's right. That's good wisdom there. If people want to find out more about your current work with Age Brightly and...
Yeah, so if you want to pop to our website, agebrightly.co.nz, we are here to reinvent how we support older people to age and to positively disrupt the current health system so that my parents and your parents can enter old age safely, knowing they're going to get access to the right care at the right time.
That sounds really awesome. All the best to you, and thank you for making time. This has been really nice to have you on the show.
Thank you.